hope you're all well today. It's an absolutely sparkling day in the rocks. I've got an underlayer on my shirt. I shouldn't have done that. Now I'm going to be too hot. Don't you love this time of year? It's freezing in the morning and then you have to take your jacket off throughout the day and then it's freezing at night. It just puts you into a false sense of security with this weather. But I'm not complaining. I love it. Sunny. Actually, can we take the microphones off for now, just while we're waiting, and we'll find out who's here.
So we've got Tim and Evelyn here.
Tim and Evelyn, I was just talking about you over at Opal Minded. They are so looking forward to seeing you.
Hi! I've been looking forward to this.
We're in Massachusetts.
Actually, April, I think, is the best, or May is the best time of the year to travel anywhere in the world, isn't it?
Sure is.
So we're in Greenway Lane, and if you know anything about this gentleman, he was sent out here as a convict for forgery, and the governor at the time was Lachlan Macquarie, whose grand vision of turning Sydney from penal colony to a really proud city. When an architect landed on his shores, he must have thought all his prayers were coming at once. He said to Greenway, build me a lighthouse, and if you do a good job, well, we'll get to work on a lot of other things. So build a great lighthouse, Greenway did. And Macquarie, true to his word, hardened Greenway, and they got to work on all of these buildings over the next 10 years. Greenway became somewhat of a celebrity after that. They commemorated him by putting him on the $10 note. So in 1966, when decimal currency came here in Australia, Greenway's face was put on the note, which is kind of ironic because he was sent out here as a convict for forgery and then he ends up on the money. Don't you think that's great? But what's even more ironic is that that $10 note was subject to counterfeiting on a large scale. So back in the 1970s, there was a development proposal approved and a lot of what you see here today is going to be removed. But the local residents contacted the Builders Labourers Federation, which was led by, at the time, Jack Mundey. He was very clear in that it was vitally important that community spaces and heritage buildings be preserved, and that affordable housing was far more important than the accumulating office buildings, and well, they weren't even being used. A lot of them were empty. A ban was placed on the rocks, and we now have all of this to show you. Again, that great, very famous photograph of him being dragged out of a protest march by the cops. And we've got to wind it up. We're rushing now. But before we get to Opal Minded, I have to drop in here and say g'day. Hello, guys.
Hey, Helen. How are you? Welcome to the Fine Food Store.
Well, how's things in the current environment?
Trying to adapt best we can, but we're good. We're positive. We want to, keep a positive face on what's happening. I think everyone's going through it together. So making more of our own products. See you later. See you, mate. Over here, we do our own chili jam and granolas, and we're sort of building that side of the business up more.
They do their own coffee roasting. The coffee here is excellent. And whenever you come to a city, you always need to know where the good coffee is. Well, Fine Fruit Store does fantastic coffee. You can be assured of that. Great menu, really great fresh produce and healthy items. And I can see you also sell alcohol.
We do, yeah, at the moment. I think everyone to see you guys.
Bye. Yeah, we did our preview of this tour. We travelled through here, and you're able to see all of what Jack Mundey and the community preserved. But one of the biggest questions people ask us is, why do you call it the Rocks? When Arthur Phillip sailed into Sydney Harbour in 1788, he observed this whole peninsula to look like a big chunk of rock. So, well, they called it the Rocks. This is ripe for development. Peter May, I can see you in there. Isn't that right? It's good for us. We'll talk about this in a minute.
It's going well.
Oh, good. We're just about to come around the corner to Opal Minded, and I want to show you something that you might have walked past. Back in the 1800s, the roads were just dirt, And of course, all you need is a big downpour of rain, and all of a sudden you've got potholes. Difficult to maintain. So one of the ideas was to just put blocks of wood down, and that would be the road, and that formed a much more secure, level surface. Thank you, Hilda. And young boys as young as 9 years old would be hired to put the blocks down, and then the council workers would secure it. And if these young boys did a good job, well, then they would possibly be rewarded with a job on the council when they grew up. So it was quite an honour to be part of that. I think it's time to go to Opal Mine. Shall we? They're all waiting for us.
So we have two pieces here. The white metal would potentially retail at about $300 Australian. The one on in yellow metal, that's $110,000 piece. The difference, negligible in the aesthetics when you look at them just for a moment. However, when it comes to the value, huge. So this is 110,000. We're looking at a very precious, very rare piece of solid opal from Lightning Ridge. Beautiful colors, beautiful color play, all colors of the rainbow, which we can't really see on the screen, but that's an amazingly rare piece of opal set in gold with a few diamonds, which are really negligent when it comes to the value and the contribution to the price. And here we have something that you probably could find in other stores. We don't actually sell pieces like this. This is an opal triplet, so it's a little tiny thin slice of opal sandwiched in between, usually a quartz dome and a dark background. Things get even more complicated. You could probably get a piece like this for about $300 Australian in Australia. However, this is a piece of synthetic opal sandwiched in between the two layers, which reduces the price to about $50. And just knowing that there is a difference, this is fundamental to understanding what it is where the value lies in opals. And where does it lie? In the uniqueness, in the fact that they have a unique phenomenon, which we refer to as play of color. They show all the colors of the rainbow in one stone.
Their 41st anniversary, which is really, really special, and they were actually supposed to be here with me in person. We're all together designing their very own beautiful opal pendant and beautiful opal ring, which they've adaptedly named their perfect very own names, and we're working together to make that happen for them right now. And I've really enjoyed every kind of minute I've got to talk to you both. You've both become the highlight of my day, and it is really wonderful just getting to see how we can actually do that from halfway across the world from each other.
It's been a real joy working with you, and it's been really fun to see all the different opals that you've shown us and guided us through, because neither of us are really that educated with opals. So
Tim, you're pretty good. Come on, give yourself some credit.
But it's been really fun, and I think we picked out some really nice stones, and your design and the building from your team. I think it's going to be exciting. So I can't wait to give it to her.
Oh, me too. I'm very excited for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we highly recommend you to our family and friends that go to Sydney.
Wow, what a fantastic presentation, guys. Thank you very much. Now, can you also show, I know we talked about the different values of opals, but when John, I don't know if they use chisels anymore, break a rock, what does that look like?
So this is quite a special piece. What it actually looks like, it's just a piece of rock. It looks pretty, unexciting. This is the exciting part, actually, when you can.
And then he cut it out, pulled it out, and it split into this amazing color. So of course there was screaming and excitement.
Sorry that I didn't bring my my opal cufflinks to this tour, so I could have shown Renata, and she could have told me that they were actually the $300 version.
I love the name of your shop.
It's quite fun, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
How busy is the shop during this difficult?
We just opened up especially for this tour, so we are shut at the moment.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm from Japan. I'm in Tokyo right now.
That's great.
Yeah,
I
I used to
noticed-
live in Sydney. I love Sydney so much.
Well, Sydney loves you too.
Thank
So,
you.
Martina from Melbourne, how are you? Thank you for joining.
Hello, that was fabulous. For me to learn so much about the opals and the rocks area was fantastic. So thank
Peter
you.
May from the Sydney Chamber of Commerce.
Great tour of the rocks, thank you. And now I know why the rocks is called the rocks. Anybody who drives over the Sydney Harbour Bridge from north to south is confronted by this column of concrete on your left-hand side. You think, well, what's that?
I know, it's got a great story and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that unfolds. But I get mixed views. Some people really love it. I think with what I'm seeing in Sydney's architecture at the moment, what they're doing with gentrifying spaces and buildings, and I'm sure it's going to look amazing.
Architecture question for you, Helen. Can you explain the little buildings out on the main street that look like they're 2 stories? Are they military barracks or are they?
That is largely the type of architecture you'll see around the city in the inner suburbs of Sydney in the late 1800s, early 1900s. That was a very typical style of architecture. So, but no, residential. And today they're holding offices and shops, and that's one of the beautiful things about the rocks. Actually, that retention of architecture is still very visible. And
Thank you for the tour. It was glamorous. I love it, enjoyed it, and it was a big pleasure to see you all here. And thanks for your time and inviting us. I'm living in Sydney, living at Bondi, and it's so nice to know the history of where I live. It's so meaningful. Thanks for your time and all these educational steps you take, all the tours and letting us know about how the life is going. It's been a while that I haven't visited. Thank you so much.
it's a pleasure, Izzy. Hopefully you can join us again. In fact, we will do the Bondi to Coogee or the Bondi to Bronte. We'll do that tour as a virtual tour one day. What do you think?
Yay!
Maybe you can meet us en route and you can talk to our travellers from overseas. That would be good.
Pleasure. Please let me know. I'll be happy to join you there.
Okay, great. Well, we'll let you know. We'll keep you posted because everybody who's on tour today is going to receive a beautiful piece of opal. And we're going to stay in touch with you and invite you to the future tours. We're going to be doing the virtual tours every Wednesday. Even when things go back to somewhat normal, we're going to continue doing these every Wednesday because we're getting such a great response from people. People are loving, like you said, Izzy, loving the connection to Sydney. And sometimes you really can't get that close to the locals unless you've got somebody taking you there. And if we can do it virtually, well, we're kicking goals, I think. All right, I'm getting the wind up, so we're going to have to go now. It's been such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining us and keeping the light on Sydney's tourism. Thank you, Renata. Thank you, Kaylee. You're wonderful. This is all very beautiful, and I have to show you my good friend here, Helda, who helps make all of this possible. You are a gem.
Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure, and look forward to seeing all of the other tours. And we're going to be talking about the art of Sydney as well. And I mean, what is life without art, history, food? And that's all we're here to do.
Next week, the art of Sydney, Helda is the guide. Come back here. He's going to be the guide, and so I'm going to be behind the camera this time, which I'm very excited about. So we're looking forward to next week's Art of Sydney. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Helen.
Again, thank you, Renata.
Thank you, Helen.
And Kaylee.
Thank you. Can I just quickly say thank you, Tim and Evelyn, for staying up so late?
All right, thank you. Good night.
Goodbye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.